I was so tired and so hungry. There was nothing to eat, and I just knew I was gonna die. I can get triggered too. And I kept thinking I was doing something wrong, or if I just tried harder, I could fix it. I needed to know, is it possible to have a loving, fulfilling relationship in spite of the PTSD? And I learned it isn't me. And I learned I can't fix it. And I also learned the importance of taking care of me. I hope by now you know you're not alone. I'm so glad to be here today, and I'm really glad you're here today too. We all share one thing in common. We care deeply for a warrior. Recently, I was talking with a young veteran, and he was telling me all about his wife, what an amazing person she is, exceptional, and how much he appreciates all her love and support. I agree. It takes an exceptional person to love a warrior, especially a warrior whose war will never cease. Whether a wife, a husband, a brother, sister, significant other, all loved ones, friends, we care deeply for our warriors who struggle with the relentless battles of post-traumatic stress. Well, we may be exceptional, but we don't always feel exceptional, do we? Sometimes we can feel so alone, overwhelmed. I'm going to share some comments from other loved ones, and I'm wondering if you can relate with some of these. I feel like my whole identity is wrapped up in them and their PTSD. Sometimes it seems like I'm shrinking, losing myself. My feet hurt from walking on eggshells. Sometimes I wonder if I have PTSD too. Can't the VA just make a pill for ornery? I'm ashamed to admit it to anyone, but I often wonder if I made a mistake and I just want to throw in the towel. Whenever I try to explain PTSD to other people, they just don't get it. They wonder when he'll get over it. I find myself making excuses for him. My heart breaks for him. I work so hard to try to help him and to avert any triggered episodes. I love him, but sometimes I don't like him. I wonder if I will ever be normal again. What about me? I hope by now you know you're not alone. When my husband and I first started seeing each other, he told me right from the get-go, he said, "Welby, I've got PTSD and I'm all screwed up." I didn't have a clue. I'm thinking, PTSD, what's that, a radio station? I knew I needed to learn. So I signed up for a class at the VA, and it was really helpful. But what I needed to know, is it possible to have a loving, fulfilling relationship in spite of the PTSD? And yes, this was an exceptional man, and this was a relationship worth fighting for. But that question bothered me. Is it possible to have a loving, fulfilling relationship in spite of the PTSD? So I went to the class, and I remember driving home that first night all alone in the car, and I just wept. The horrors our warriors have experienced that haunt them day and night. And I learned it isn't me. And I learned I can't fix it. And I also learned the importance of taking care of me. Well, we got counseling together, which was really helpful, and I got counseling for myself, which I will probably always continue to do. And I am here today, years later, to say without a doubt, yes, it is possible to have a loving, fulfilling relationship in spite of the PTSD. And I thank God every day for the privilege of loving my warrior and being loved by him. The fact that you're here today shows that you too are willing to fight for your relationship, and you know the importance of taking care of you. So what about us? I want to share with you today 7 things that have been really helpful to me on my journey as I continue to learn and grow. The first one, number 1, accept the facts. Accept the facts. And the first fact is there's no going forward until we accept the PTSD and our new normal. Another fact, the PTSD is here to stay. Well, it's been around for all of history. It's been named and renamed, and it'll probably be renamed again soon, but for now we'll refer to it as the PTSD. And this is my kind of brief description of it. Post-traumatic stress can affect anyone, and it results from exposure to an experience that's life-threatening or perceived as life-threatening or horrific. And what happens is the whole person gets locked into emergency mode, fight, flight, or freeze survival, and stays locked in that emergency mode at some level for the rest of their lives. So, 24/7, they live as if that original trauma or an impending crisis could occur at any moment. And it totally overwhelms their ability to cope. PTSD affects millions just in the US alone, along with all those who love them, care about them, and live with them. PTSD is not a chosen situation. It's not an illness. It's not a temporary condition, and it's not 100% curable. People who struggle with it aren't weak. They're not crazy. They're not bad. They're not failures. And they're not without help and hope. So the PTSD may be here to stay, but the good news is they can learn to thrive again. Another fact we need to accept is we cannot fix it or them. Another fact, there's going to be good days and bad days, good moments and bad moments. Another fact, we will be deeply and profoundly impacted. We too will see symptoms of post-traumatic stress, and we will get triggered. They call that vicarious trauma. So some of the symptoms, these are typical symptoms of PTSD. And the good news is that not everybody has all of them. Flashbacks, intrusive thoughts of the trauma, avoidance, numbing, putting up walls, withdrawing, hypervigilance, irritability, easily startled, memory blocks, sudden bursts of anger or other emotions, difficulty sleeping, nightmares, fear, depression, anxiety, substance abuse and other addictive behaviors, difficulty holding a job, relationship problems, and unfortunately, sometimes even suicide. They are people who are reacting normally to an abnormal experience. Another fact, we will never get all we need or want from them. Well, we never can from any human being anyway, no matter what. So there was a lady one evening, she was doing the dinner dishes, working away in the kitchen. Her husband was out watching the TV, and she called out, "Honey, can you please help me with the garbage?" "I can't hear you." So a little bit louder. "Honey, can you please come help me with the garbage?" "I can't hear you." So really loud, she said, "I said I want sex." He heard her. We will never get all we need or want from anybody. Side note, sometimes the PTSD and the meds involved interfere with lovemaking. But nothing needs to interfere with the expression of love itself and creative ways to express it to each other. Another fact, we do not always need them to be okay in order for us to be okay. We do not need them to always be okay in order for us to be okay. Another fact, it's their PTSD. It really is not me. Another fact, accepting it does not mean that we have to understand it or like it. And when we can be thankful for the little things along the way, we won't get stuck. We won't get numb. And we realize it will never be ideal, but we can be alive and growing, and that's what's important. Number 2, explore resources and learn all you can about PTSD. Well, coming here today is a good step. I really needed to learn. I didn't know anything when I first started, and I'm still learning. I learn new stuff every day. The class at the VA was a lifesaver for me. Read what you can. Explore things on the internet. And a good place to start is our website. That's loveourvets.org. We're just continually updating that with helpful resources and information and blogs and a lot of very helpful, informative, and encouraging resources. Also, the National Center for PTSD has regular updates, and you can get on their email list if you want, and they'll send you things regularly as groundbreaking studies come out and new information becomes available. New types of therapies are always showing up. So stay up on that and continue to learn. Number 3, connect with others. I remember feeling so alone. Nobody around me, nobody I knew anything about PTSD. And I kept thinking I was doing something wrong, or if I just tried harder, I could fix it. But what I really, really needed was to connect with other people who were going through it. We could encourage each other and learn and grow, and I wouldn't feel like I was crazy or totally alone. So what I did was I reconnected with some of the ladies in the class at the VA, and I invited them over to my house to get together, and so our first meeting was in our living room. And we've been meeting ever since. And that, we called ourselves Love Our Vets, and that was the beginning of the Love Our Vets PTSD Family Support Network that we've got, and the book came out of that, Love Our Vets book. And I just want to stress how important it is to have that in-person peer support. If you can get it locally, if there's a group near you, please do that. And if you don't have one and would like to start one, contact me and we'll help you get that going. I remember one day a new lady came and we were all sort of sharing. Everybody has something to offer and everybody comes away feeling so encouraged. I know after those group meetings, I go home and I just hug and love my husband. He likes me to go to the meetings. One of the ladies was new, and she was just sitting listening to everybody. Tears just coming down, and she said, "You all understand. You know what I'm going through. I'm not alone." And it's so validating to have that connection. And if you can't have it locally and in person, then there are just tons of online options. So it is just amazing what can happen when we connect with each other, support each other, and ultimately our vets benefit from that and everybody comes away encouraged. We have a pretty active Facebook page, Love Our Vets on Facebook. And I just wanted to tell you this. It was amazing. One lady, she lived in Florida, and she posted one morning, she said, I just found out that my son, who's stationed in Alaska, just tried to commit suicide. And she just freaked out. She panicked. She said, I don't know what to do. What do I do? And of course, you would just totally, I don't know, she just felt so helpless and alone and all those things. She posted that. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. The responses that poured in, the comments, the encouragement. Within 1 hour, somebody had arranged a plane flight to get that lady from Florida to Alaska. And somebody else sent her a message and said, I live near there. Why don't you stay with me at my house? It was just amazing to see that come together. And last I heard, they're both doing so much better. But I just want to encourage you to not underestimate the value of staying connected with others who are on the same journey. Number 4, prepare for your own triggers. Prepare for your own triggers. Their PTSD does affect us. We will get triggered too. The key is to tune into our needs, and tune into our triggers. Well, I had one of those days, one of those learning, growing days. So I'm in go mode, getting ready to go out the door. My husband and I, we had our hug and our prayer at the back door. And I go trotting down the driveway, turn on the car, put it in gear. Boom! I broke the car. The engine fell out. It's going to explode. We can't afford a new car. I freaked out. I panicked. I went running back up the driveway. And of course, he looked out the window. He saw me running up the driveway. That panicked him. So there we were, the two of us, fully activated, running back. It was quite a sight. Running back down the driveway. He gets in the car. He turns it on. He puts it in gear, moves it forward, turns it off, gets out, hands me the keys. I learned 3 things that day. First of all, I have a wonderful husband. Well, I already knew that. Secondly, cars go much better when you take off the parking brake. And thirdly, I can get triggered too. The key for us is to tune in. How are we doing? What triggers me? We need help during the triggering, and we need help between episodes. And what happens is the trauma makes the body feel unsafe. So remember that initial trauma sent us into fight, flight, or freeze survival mode. So when we get triggered or when they get triggered, it's literally like putting us right back on the battlefield, right back in the jungle or wherever they were that triggered them, that had that trauma. So our goal is to do all we can to make our body feel safe. So here's something that's been helpful to me. When triggered, don't freeze. Breathe slowly and deeply. Don't fight. Speak calmly. Say, I feel and I need. And don't run. Think about what my body needs now to make it feel safe. Bottom line, don't let the panic escalate. At the first sign of reaction, do something physical. Breathe, sing, take a walk, hug your dog, hug the person that you love, count backwards, pray out loud, whatever works for you. And then after calming down, in between the episodes, it's important to not sweep it under the rug. Or we kind of think, oh, okay, it'll just kind of go away. It doesn't go away. Talk about the triggers, my triggers and their triggers. Talk about them together in between episodes when we're able to be calm and learn from it and think about options next time. Don't forget about the triggers during the good times. Stay tuned to the first warning signs. And don't beat myself up. Don't beat yourself up for not being perfect. Yay. Keep on learning and growing and willing to grow. Number 5, take care of your needs, physical, emotional, spiritual. Before I go any further, I want to state very clearly, do all you have to stay safe. Abuse is never acceptable under any circumstance. Stay safe. Take care of you. And in some cases, you may want to have a plan in place just in case you need it. But I can't stress that enough, that importance. Those of us who love someone with PTSD are especially susceptible to burnout. Compassion fatigue, they call it. It's been said that sometimes it's the loved ones and the caregivers who are the undecorated casualties of war. If we give out more than we take in and don't replenish, we're going to burn out. And then we're no good to anyone. So we need to take care of us. I got an email from a wife one day and she was asking, Welby, what page in your book covers being sucked dry? Well, actually, after I finished chuckling, the entire middle section of the book, Love Our Vets, talks about our needs. What do I need to do to take care of me? And I just can't stress that enough. We need to put ourselves at the top of our own priority list before we're no good to anybody. So we each have unique warning signals sent to us by our own bodies that tell us we need to make some changes. For me, it's indigestion, insomnia, headache, grinding teeth, forgetting to breathe. Breathing is so not overrated. So that's one I'm still working on big time. The key is to know what are your warning signals and tune in. And tune in when they start, not, well, it's too late. So I'm still learning and growing, and I have to confess that I don't travel well. I had to take a trip, and I knew when I got back I was going to be really tired and really hungry. So I asked my husband to please get out some soup for me out of the freezer. And for some reason at that time in my life, I wasn't supposed to eat potatoes. So anyway, I got home from my trip, and I was tired, and I was hungry. So he was out in the living room. I was so excited. I opened up the soup, and there's potatoes in the soup. And I freaked out. I flung open the freezer door, frozen food flying everywhere, flying in the air, flinging everywhere, falling on the floor. I was so tired and so hungry. There was nothing to eat, and I just knew I was going to die. Well, pretty soon my husband comes in. Bless his heart. He puts his arms around me, didn't say a word. He prayed for me, and he let me have my meltdown. Well, I did manage to find something to eat, and I didn't die. But it was interesting looking back. The next morning, I opened up that soup, and I looked at it again. I went, oh, I can just pick out the potatoes. It didn't occur to me. When we are triggered and exhausted, we see no options. We can't think, and we do have our meltdowns. I had gone too long not taking care of my needs. And I need to learn, we all need to learn, to tune in sooner before we have our meltdowns. It is a matter of being aware of our needs and also being able to communicate them to those near us. So here's a few things that I've found helpful, still endeavoring to put them all into practice, but a good start anyway. And don't try to do all this the first day. Just maybe one at a time. One thing that's helpful, to accept your limitations. Accept your limitations. One example, and I just had to work on this one 2 days ago. It is not possible for us to successfully run interference between our warrior, our veteran, our loved one, and everything and anyone that could possibly trigger them. Sometimes we spend too much energy trying to do that. It's not possible, and it's not our job. We are limited. Another thing that's helpful, nurture yourself via all 5 senses. All 5 senses. Release the compulsion to fix the world. Surround yourself with good support. Get counseling for you. Replenish with spiritual input. Eat well and sleep well. Process your feelings in a healthy way. One example of that, anger produces adrenaline. So in order to process that in a healthy way, you have to do something physical. I had a plastic inflatable Bart Simpson baseball bat. It was wonderful therapy for me. Many times I would just go into the back bedroom and I would just beat the snot out of that thing until one day it popped. But I need to get another one. But whatever works for you to physically get out those feelings in a healthy way. Another thing, exercise regularly. Stay current with doctor visits. Take time for you. Have healthy boundaries. Be able to say no. And lastly, breathe. I think we should do that right now. I need to. Just a nice, slow, deep breath in. And slowly out. And then don't forget to keep doing that. Bottom line, we're good to others. We need to be good to ourselves too. Number 6, maintain your unique individuality as you pursue your purpose. Our role as caregivers and supporters is an important part of who we are. But we have to be careful to not let it become all of who we are, to not let it dictate the totality of our identity. Each of us is a unique combination of interests, passions, abilities, talents, opportunities, things you love doing well, and things that you're interested in doing. We need to make the time and take the time to pursue our interests and pursue our passions without feeling guilty. One of the things I love doing is encouraging. I love it. I like to encourage others. It makes me feel good. It's very rewarding. I had a back injury. I had to go to the doctor a while back. And so I'm lying face down on the table, waiting for the doctor to come in. And his assistant, Jeanette, was doing the little, the massage and the heat packs and all. She was working on me. She was having a really, really hard time. She was going through some deep, heavy stuff, and she just needed to talk and unload and have somebody listen to her. And I felt so bad for her, and she talked for just unloaded. I was hurting for her. And then she got really quiet. So I just reached out, rubbed her leg a little, squeezed it, patted it, rubbed it, squeezed it, patted it, and then it occurred to me, I don't recall Jeanette being quite so muscular. It was the doctor. So the point of that story, make the time and take the time to do what you're passionate about without feeling guilty. And it doesn't hurt to have a sense of humor along the way. Number 7, stay open to learning and growing. You know what? There is no way to do this perfectly. Believe me, I've tried. And it's not always fun. So, how do we learn and grow? First of all, we realize that growth and its benefits don't happen overnight. Learn from others who are overcoming similar challenges. Get good counseling and apply what you discover. Keep our sense of humor and be able to laugh at ourselves. Work on our own issues. Enjoy and treasure the good moments. Stay open to the discomfort of the unfamiliar. Feel good about the progress we have made. Keep perspective on what is really important in the long run. And remember that all our efforts will be worth it. Before my final comments, I'd like to share a poem I wrote. It's called I Loved Someone with PTSD, and it's on our website. I'm wondering if you can relate. And please feel free to close your eyes if you want. I loved someone with PTSD, had no clue how hard it could be. Was I the only one who knew what PTSD could put you through? If only I knew just what to say or just tried harder to make his day. Was it me or was it him? What was this darkness that stole him away? I cry alone. It hurts so much. He can't seem to feel my touch. Where does he go behind that wall or in that cave so dark and small? His pain is abysmal, locked deep inside. All he knows is how to hide. The horrors of war forever torment this man I love and won't relent. I'm all alone, afraid, torn, feel so tired, weary, worn. Please, God, show me what to do to help us both to make it through. I'm not alone, it came to me. Faith and love can set me free. Prayers of help and people who know, my lifelines of hope to help me grow. It isn't him, it isn't me, it's just the cruel PTSD. Though always there, we don't have to be numb if we just take one day at a time. I love someone with PTSD, and I'm sure that he loves me. The pain and struggles we'll fight each day. My love for him is here to stay. I loved someone with PTSD, and I'm so glad he's here with me. And though it isn't always fun, it's the best thing I have ever done. It takes an exceptional person to love a warrior, especially a warrior whose war will never cease. You are that exceptional person. Thank you for loving your warrior.